an accident victim. And what I do to start it is cut out the nostril hole. Just reach in here, snip out so he can breathe. Snip over here. Once I have the nostril holes cut, I want to place the appliance onto the subject's face and make sure it lines up. Now this seems to line up pretty well. I have a spot right at the top that I think I'll trim off. I'll take an eyebrow pencil and I'll mark where his hairline is, which is right across here. That's where I want to take it off. Now, while I have it in this position, I'll want to draw around the appliance, marking where I'm going to put latex. Now this line makes it so I can line up the latex and have it stick as a contact bond. I will be putting latex along this area and along the appliance here, and I'll let it dry and then put it on. I do have one other hairline right here that I need to cut and make sure it fits, because I don't want to stick this into his hair. So right along this area right here, just a very little piece, I want to take that out. And across the top. Now, I'll take liquid latex and apply it to his face. I put the liquid latex inside the line. It lines me up. And since he has a mustache, I'll need to put your head back just a little bit and open your mouth. I'll need to put it just underneath his mustache on his lip. I need to draw whatever hair is there out of the way. I want to go around a couple of times with the latex so that I am sure to have enough. Now if you'll hold this container, now what I'm going to do is put the latex around the edge of the appliance. This will match up then with what we have on his face. Again, we want to make sure there's about 2 coats on the appliance and on the face area to get a good contact bond. Now we let these both dry about 3 minutes. Now what we'll do is we'll take the appliance and we'll put it on his face, lining up his eyes. Up underneath. Pull it out to the outside. Down and across his lip. I press the edges down all the way around so that it makes that contact bond. Now, in order to adhere that just a little better, I'll take the liquid latex again and I'll put it right along the edge. This will also taper it into the skin. Once I've gone around the entire appliance, I want to make sure I get up underneath his lip. He'll need to keep his lip slightly open so that he doesn't bond the lower lip to the top. Then I'll let this dry about 3 minutes before I apply the makeup. Now at this point I have a lower lip that I want to put on here, which I can go ahead and prepare. Now first I'll check it just to see how it works. I can then do the same thing with my eyebrow pencil. I'll mark around it. And then I'll put the liquid latex on both his face and the appliance. Be sure to put plenty on the lip so that when he goes to the whatever party or function he's going to, it remains secure. And then also on the appliance itself. we've waited about 3 minutes, and we're going to now apply the lip portion. It goes right here. Tap it in, and it will adhere to the face. And then go around it with the latex again. And this will ensure that the edge tapers out and also that the edge doesn't come loose. Just go around that. Now, as soon as this dries, we're ready to apply the makeup. Now, what I'm going to use is medium flesh and a foam rubber sponge. And I'm just going to apply it. This is called the base, and we'll apply it all over his face, including the side that doesn't have the appliance, because we want to have the same base all over. Now this tapping effect is called stippling, and right now, while it's still drying, it helps to do it this way so that you don't drag the appliance off his face. I want to make sure I get the edges and up onto his face and down his neck. Up under his eye. Now you don't have to worry about getting in the crevices. We'll do that with a brush later. Now, it really doesn't matter if you've gotten it really fully on there. Again, when we come across it with a brush, we'll be able to fill in more and complete the makeup at that time. Now what I'm going to do is I've got a piece of cardboard that I've taken from my box, my packaging, and I've put some black makeup on it. Now I've got a small makeup brush, and I'm going to go into all the crevices. And initially, I just want to brush this along the crevice marks. This will give me a shadowing effect. This is the shadow. You don't really have to be very neat at this. As you go along, you can clean up your marks. Just get it into all the crevices. And then in the eye area where the appliance is connected, it's good to darken. It hides the seam. And up underneath, shadow, along the edge of the nose, shadow, and then down on the top seam, leaving an edge right along here of the flesh color as a highlight. I draw some lines even with the creases that are on the top lip, on the bottom lip, and right on up onto his lip. And darken under the lip to give a shadowing effect here. I also want to do the nostrils up here. Nostril on this side. And then outline the lip just slightly. Now it's good to do a little darkening here on the edge and under this eye, just so it sinks in his eye on this side. Just a little shadowing and maybe a couple of lines over here. This just gives you a good balance. Now with a red makeup, and I'm using a color wheel here that just has several other colors, I'm going to go ahead and go into all these crevices, which are wounds, and going to mix it in there with the black, which will give me a slight purple look or a scarring effect. This whole area up here on the forehead I want to create as if part of the skin has been pulled away. And this works real well in the black, and just fading it black back into the skull. I also might use just a little bit of black, a touch of black up in there, up in the skull area. That'll turn it just a little bit purple. I can use a little blue. A little blue in there will give it more of a scarring effect. And the further up into the hairline I go, the more it looks real. And if I go blue right up at the hairline inside, it shadows it. And then I draw it forward, so it looks like the end of a big gouge. A little red. Mix it up just a little bit. Then I also want to use red for his lips. We've got what's a swollen lip here, but it's also very tender, so we'll brighten it up. Now tone that down a little bit with some flush in a moment. And then I want to connect the two lips over on the side. So what I get is a fat lip over here, as if he's been struck in some way. Now, this edge down at the bottom, we want to darken in. So we'll take a little black, and we'll hide that. Open your mouth. So in a sense, we darken it up right in this area. And right along this area. Make a few more little creases to finish it off there. And perhaps a little red to diminish the black. Now with my medium flush, I'll go back in and clean up some of the areas that should be flush that maybe I've gotten other colors on or that I couldn't reach with my sponge. Get up underneath the nose, some of the places where I couldn't punch as hard. And then on top, any of that brush marks that I might have gotten out of line. And also blend the flush down in to give it a more subdued look. And then along the eye, so that it's not as, doesn't stand out quite as much. Now, I also need to come back in with my brush and blacken these lines, because I do have this line of the appliance. I want to break that up a little by putting some horizontal lines through here, which will be his brow wrinkle. I can tone that down just a little bit. Let me draw this out just a little bit more. I can tone that down by taking my sponge and my flesh and stippling over the top. This will fade it out and fade this line of the appliance just a little bit more. Then in order to make this look a little more fresh, I'll take some stage blood and apply it into these wounds, and it will pick up the light a little bit. And here, move it around just a little bit, down in the crevice. Just need a touch. It'll pick up the light and look more real or more fresh. Now if I go back to my color wheel, my sponge, and a little bit of red, I want to do a little bit of shadowing right in this area to give almost a scarring look. I might put just a little touch of black in there into this area. Might look, it gives you that black and blue effect. It mixes also a little bit with the blood that I put on. You might do this before, although I like to do it afterwards because it mixes a little bit with the blood. And get this little shadowing effect going on here. I also want to do a little bit of that underneath this lip where he's got a little bit more of a fat lip right in here. We can get a little black and blue area, and that's mixing the red and black just a little bit. Now, I also need, once I get this on here, to go back and highlight that area. I don't want it to, I want it to stand out. I need a black and blue look, but it's a high point, so I want it to look like a high point, and that means running some white over it. So now that we have this bit of black and blue, now I can use a little blue, but that really isn't necessary. I'll put a little bit on there. Just gives a little color. Over here, down in the crevice, and perhaps we'll do a little bit of blue in these areas, just a touch. Again, it gives you a subtle bruising effect. Now, we'll go ahead with the sponge and white, and this is where I'm going to highlight. A little white here on the sponge, and then I kind of wipe it off. And I want to go across the lip area, just on the edge, right along here, and then blend it just a little bit. That'll heighten that look. And along the edge of the lip, you want to put a little white. And then on this bruising, I want to highlight that just a little bit, bring it out ever so much, because I want that standing out. Dark colors make it look like it's back in. That's a shadowing. So I want to highlight that just a little bit to bring it out a little bit more. I can blend it up into the lip, and then I get that look. Now, I also want to go across the bridge of his nose and across the eyebrows, and on the side that we haven't really dealt with, and in between those black marks to highlight those. Now, in order to hide a little bit more of the appliance, we'll put a little thicker coat down here, blend it into that black that we have underneath, and blend it out. Now, if this becomes too gruesome, you could just put a mask on him. And this will tone it down just a little bit. And then perhaps you might dress him up. Let's give him a cape. Let's give him a hat. All dressed up and no place to go.
Actions.